Hey there, option informants. Welcome to our introduction into LambdaWaves. We are extremely excited to launch this and extremely excited to talk about it. So pay attention, we got much to cover, and let's just jump into this. So now, our LambdaWaves, along with our MicroWaves and Lambda volatility histogram, are the best tools for you guys to use to figure out price action, price indication, and technical failure in a stock. Now, most people have different experiences in trading and they're able to identify different trends easier than others. Our tool helps beginner, novice, and intermediate traders identify these points a lot easier, allowing you to get into better trades and better positions. Now, before we get started, make sure to pause and rewind if you run into any questions or concern. There's a ton of information in this video. Don't expect it to understand it on the first go. It will take some time. Now, with that being said, make sure you're also practicing using the Trading View Rewind feature. It's a great way to understand the tool and see if your assumptions are correct in the direction of the stock, the price movement, when to jump in, and when to get out. If you can, paper trade. That's the safest way not to use real capital and risk your portfolio. And of course, one little caveat, TradingView does require a pro account in order to receive these Lambda waves. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, informants. So what you see on the screen here is your basic TradingView layout. So before we can get started, we obviously have to enable our indicators. So go ahead, Informant Joe, show how it's done.
Of course. So first, you're going to go to tradingview.com. And if you don't have a TradingView account, please use our affiliate link. At the top here, you're going to see the indicator tab. So just click on this guy. And then I have my Lambda criteria or my Lambda scripts set up in favorites already. We're going to use histo, volatility histo, waves, and microwaves today. But if you don't have them in your favorites, go down to invite only, and that's where you'll find them if you are a Lambda subscriber. And then once you have those set, why don't you just favorite them? Because you're going to use them all the time anyway. So here we go. Let's click on these guys. It's going to pop up the actual charts here. Now, for my particular preference, I don't actually like using microwaves all the time. They are exactly as their name implies. They are micro trend indicators. So I'm going to turn them off at this point in time.
Okay, informants. Now you may have noticed on the right, you may see a series of price labels based on the indicators. Now, depending on your account and your setups, you may or may not see this, and you may wish to get this off your screen. I preferably just like to see the last price action. So what you'll need to do is just go to your labels, go to indicator last value label, and just disable that. And that should clear up your screen. All right, informants, now that you have your indicators all set up, now, as Joe stated, microwaves is currently turned off from a visibility standpoint, and you should be seeing the Lambda waves and the Lambda volatility histogram in the bottom. So we're going to start off with the volatility histogram, and as you can see, there are 4 colors: purple, red, orange, and gray. So Informant Joe, how about you walk us through that and give us a quick example of its value?
Yes, so the Lambda histo is volatility histo is supposed to, as the name indicates, define volatility in the market over a period of time. Currently, the fuchsia actually represents the 90th percentile of volatility. The red lines indicate the 80 to 90 percentile volatility, and the orange lines represent 70 to 80 percentile volatility. So this is important because there's a reversal typically that happens at this point of high volatility. Now, this isn't always true, so we need to stay true to the lambda waves and other indicators that we may be using at the point in time. And you could see this. So this is a prime example of extreme volatility and then a price reversal. And then back down here, I also want to note that there is price action here that gives us indication that there might be a reversal. So there's 3 indications, and you'll learn the band or the wave indication later. At this point in time, you could see that there's extreme volatility for a good, hour and 15 minutes. But price continues to move up, doesn't necessarily dip down or anything in particular. So volatility can be for many reasons. The one thing that we have to note is that during times of very high volatility, buying an option, buying a call option, or buying any option really is just going to be, it's going to be more expensive in general. So that's something to take note of. In the beginning of the day, I would kind of ignore this. There are situations with Lambda Trader where this actually works in our favor, and we'll talk about that later.
All right, thanks Informant Joe on the explanation on the volatility histogram. So let's talk about the lambda waves. Give us an explanation on those.
Of course. So at this point, we have our lambda waves indicator on. It's important to know that these waves follow price. So this is the price wave. You'll see it follows very closely with price itself. This wave is the trend wave. And you may be able to see something that every time price consolidates or touches trend, especially in a bull market, because the overall direction of a market's always up, you're going to see this bounce majority of the time. There's consolidation here. We didn't necessarily bounce, but we still go up. And then guess what happens here? We touch this consolidate, or we consolidate and touch this trend band, and then we bounce back up. And that's clear throughout the process. It even happens here. It's a very strong indication of a move upward when in a bearish market and bouncing off the trend line.
All right, so real quick question, Informant Joe. So I've noticed there's 3 different points where volatility kind of turns purple, and I'm also noticing a little bounce. You mind explaining that to me?
Yeah, so that's what we call a lambda bounce, and there are multiple indicators here from the lambda pack that actually imply a move upwards. So let's start here. Now, this move isn't actually purple itself, but the next 2 will be. So this guy bounces in this area here, but then the very next one is an increase in volatility. And as we stated before, an extreme increase in volatility means a push upwards in price. And so we see that here. And then here's a prime example. Although volatility in the first hour of the market can't really be taken seriously, at this point, we have 2 indicators that price is going to go up. We have a consolidation downward. We have a bounce off our lambda wave trend line. And then to finish it off, we have an extreme increase in volatility. Now, personally, I wouldn't have been in on this unless I had, some pre-market technical analysis that I was looking at. But this is a great entry point if you were ready for that. And then if you come back down here, you could see there's purple volatility, which is extremely high. It's the highest bar that we have. And then it's a bounce off the lambda wave. So this is a lambda bounce. And then you also have a very bullish candle in price action. This price is going to go upwards and you're going to make some money on it. That's how we trade.
All right, so now that we've explained the volatility and the lambda bounce, right there in that dip at the 1400 hours, is it me or did the colors of that price wave change color? Joe?
Yeah, so you're I'm assuming talking about this aqua to gray indication here. It absolutely did. So this is a big move, and we don't actually see it with the total lambda waves, which is why we created microwaves. And the reason why microwaves isn't an option on lambda waves itself is because it actually requires so much computing power that TradingView doesn't allow one script to utilize it. So I had to break it down into two scripts, which is kind of funny. So we do have two scripts, and I apologize for that. So we're going to go ahead and click this button here, and we're going to be able to see the micro trend in this area. So the major trend is down here. We are bullish the whole way through. We bounced here. You see all these green candlesticks, but look what happens. You see this color change here, and then the price change in or the color change in the microwaves, which indicates that this is a bullish trend here. So we are actually going down here. And then it's important to pay attention to the major trend. So yeah, we're going down in the interim, but we're going to bounce here. And that's what's important. And this happens all the time. And it's important to watch. Like, you don't want to necessarily play this micro trend, especially when you're in a giant upward trend. And we're going to go over many more indicators that will help you through this process. So if you could see here and take a look in this area here, the 0700 hour, you're actually going to see a bearish trend. So this is an overall bearish trend because our bottom trend line, this is the very strong overall trend indicator. We are bullish, right? But every bullish trend has bearish micro trends, and you could see that throughout the history of the stock market in general. You're going to see a strong push upwards throughout the course of time, but there's these micro pullbacks. And then in the case of the coronavirus or the Great Depression or the Great Recession, you're going to see major pullbacks. But ultimately, the market always goes up. So these minor moves in the market aren't really caught by many people, but that's what microwaves are for. That's what microwave does. It literally captures those tiny pieces in the market that nobody else can capture. And so we're seeing it here, right here in this area, a micro move in an upward trend. That's impressive.
All right, Informing Joe. So now that we've covered kind of like micro bearish trends in a bullish condition, what would be a good example of where the bearish condition kind of overpowers, the waves, and we see a downward reversal?
Yeah, so I'm going to move this way a little bit. So here's a good indicator of what's happening. So typically, I tell people, let's not pay attention to the noise. So let's not look at the microwaves right away. Microwaves should be a indication of, I don't know what's going to happen here. Let me turn the microwaves on to give me a better idea of what's going to happen. You don't want these to be your overall factor on what's going to happen. There are a way to trade the microwaves by themselves, but they're so good at picking out these like little minuscule movements in the market that you want to have them on, only when you need them. So let's turn them off right now, and let's take a look at this area that we've already seen. We're not necessarily in a bullish trend whatsoever, but what did happen here is that price broke through this actual bearish trend, and then the bearish trend lines actually turned gray, and as they turned gray, they consolidated, which means that we're indecisive, and we don't know if we're going to go up or down. At this point in time, I would turn on the microwaves, and this is a prime example of the microwaves working. They're not going to work 100% of the time, but they're pretty damn good at telling the small movements in the market. So we see here that there was obviously indecision here that we talked about. There was a price move upward. These price bands or price waves were still gray, and we needed something else to tell us what was going to happen. We turned on microwaves and it told us what was going to happen. This is unbelievable. So price dropped through the trend line and continued its downward trend. Yes, you do see this green here. We're all going to talk about it. But when we have an indication of the small microwaves here, and then we also have the fact that the bands reassured us after consolidation that they were going to be bearish by turning purple again. It didn't take long for them to turn purple. Let's turn these microwaves off. We're going to see purple almost immediately. You're going to see purple in this area. So purple here means downward trend overall. You have this big red candle, and then you also had the microwaves showing purple. We're going down here.
So essentially, what we're seeing here, and once the microwaves turn back on, is the reverse from the other slide, which is a micro bullish trend, but it doesn't really overpower the bearish condition.
Yeah. Whenever you see confirmation in the microwaves from a standpoint of an overall movement in the market, you kind of want to lean towards that because you have two very strong and powerful indicators that we have researched over the course of time, and these things are statistically proven and data backed, where we're going to look at these indicators and use them as powerful tools as a powerful trading apparatus, essentially, where we're going to see this reversal, and we're going to trust it. We have to trust it at this point.
All right, so just to recap real quick, we've gone over the Lambda volatility histogram. We've discussed the price wave and the trend wave. As for the trend wave, there's three colors, essentially teal, which is kind of indicating a bullish movement, grayish, light color, which is kind of neutral or undecisive, and purple, which is indicating a bearish downward trend. Now, when we're looking at the microwaves, we identified both a micro bearish and a micro bullish condition. And our recommendation at the moment is to use the microwaves when we reach a point of either consolidation and that grayish neutral price wave. Does that sound about right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'd add is a potential reversal. So, like, the only other time I'd possibly use the microwaves is at the top of like this area here. After I see this red candle, I might turn the microwaves on to see where we're going, what's happening here.
Got you. Are there any other tools in the LambdaWaves that can kind of help us decide that?
Absolutely. So we actually incorporated, and this is why it takes things so long, because we were actually trying to help out you guys in the sense that we understand that TradingView actually charges for the indicators that you have on. So we actually crammed a bunch of code into one indicator, and it turned out I was trying to put microwaves in the LambdaWaves as well, but TradingView actually didn't allow me to do that because it's too much code. So we're actually going to show you our Lambda SR, which stands for Lambda Support and Resistance. So if you click the settings button here, you're actually going to get the opportunity to enable Lambda SR. So let's see what that looks like. That's, again, Lambda Support and Resistance. This is high probability support and resistance calculated over the course of time. So it's important to note that when we have price that bounce outside of our price bands that we've defined earlier, and it touches green, it's most likely going to move up. And same thing here up top, it's going to move down. And so we see that throughout the course of time, we see this bounce in this trend. It's similar to a Bollinger Band, except it's calculated in a manner that's way more efficient.
So Informant Joe, it looked like there was one more item that could be enabled in LambdaWaves. Would you mind covering what that is?
Oh, so that's the trading tool that everybody knows. It's VWAP. Every trader's talking about it. It's the thing nowadays. Everybody loves it. So we had to add it in our indicator, but we actually made sense of it for once. So let's go to the settings tool and then click enable. And eventually it will show up, and there we go. So this guy here is VWAP. You can change the color if you need to. So how I use VWAP and what I have determined as a profitable strategy is VWAP typically hovers above our price bands. So you can choose the first or second price band down as your stop loss. But whenever we touch support here at the bottom, we end up bouncing up, right, as we talked about earlier. But then when we get a close above VWAP, we're going to see a great price movement upward. And it happens a lot, actually. I mean, here we bounce down, and then we come here, and we close above VWAP, and we move up. This might have been, 50 cents. We might not have gotten our 10% at this point, and that's okay. We had a stop loss somewhere in this area, or this area, and I'm okay with losing that much after winning this much. And then we can do it again, over and over again. A close over VWAP here, and then we just move up. And then, we could stop at this point. Obviously, wherever you stop is determined about, your trading style and your account size. But ultimately, what we're looking for is a bounce off of VWAP, and then a close or a bounce off of our dynamic support and resistance high probability. And we want to close above VWAP. That's what we're looking for. And this is a really good trading strategy, especially because now what we can do as traders is we can actually put our stop loss in a position that moves with price. So we see price down here and according to the bands. So why not just put a stop loss here and just hang out and chill? And yeah, you might have lost here, no big deal, but you would have got back in here and you would have taken all that profit. But you also have to define your stop loss up here, or your take profit up here. So
yeah, and again, that's an excellent point, Joe, right? These are the tools to help support any type of trader with their strategy, right? Everybody has different types of plays, but you can use these tools as needed to make those calls. So, all right, informants. I know that was a lot to cover, a lot of information, but we're going to jump into a few different examples. So let's go ahead, Joe, and show how the application kind of works in real time. And you know what? Let's change tickers to something else that's popular. Let's go to like AMD.
AMD. You're not gonna do that whole like live trading thing, are you?
Oh, I like to put you on the spot.
All right. What do you got for me? What day? Let's not look at times. You know how I like to do it. Let's just.
Let's go back to last week, and we'll hit the fantastic replay feature we got here on Trading View.
Yeah. What day are you looking for?
Let's see. Let's just go to what was a good trading day? August 18th. Making you go far back in time.
That's a long way in 5 minutes, man.
I'll consider that for the next example. You know what? That's probably good enough right there.
Right here. Let's do it right here. Okay. So obviously we're way above price. Let's do a replay. I'm gonna start it back here. So that we can look in the beginning of the trading day, and you guys can kind of see a live example of how I would actually use these bands. What's price back then, Ed? I guess I'll run into it eventually here.
It should be in the $70 range.
Wow.
Yeah, AMD has had quite the run up, and it's given Intel a run for their money.
All right, so let's start this guy off. We have, right now we're running LambdaWaves and the SRs. Currently, I will tell you what I'm looking at. I am looking at consolidation on the bands, the waves here, and I am seeing gray. So that's consolidation. Obviously, we are pre-market. Don't know what's really going to happen. I see a mass sell-off here. My opinion and this is just a guess because market volatility is going to spike, as we know, in the beginning of the day. I think we're going to go up here. Just my guess. Let's see what happens.
Now note that the VWAP is also on.
Oh, is VWAP on? Yeah, VWAP is on, so we're good there. All right, so let me stop this here. We talked about before that we have seen high volatility and we see price busting through the support lines. Oh, that means we need to, go upwards. And in this point in time, it's early in the day. There's so much volatility. And, I called an upward movement back here. And as you can see, it did move up, but it dropped back down. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of volume on, it looks like this stick and this stick here, or candle here and this candle here, and there's going to be an immediate reverse, creating there might be, actually thinking about this, there might be another red candle here that pushes down, breaks a new low and goes up, or we might see a complete reversal. And if we do see that, we're going to look and intend for a move above VWAP, and that's when we're going to get in after that close. So this is my thought at this point in time. These things might change.
Definitely could have picked a better day for an example, huh?
All right, so we're here. I still don't know what's going on. If we move it back a couple candles and we were actually in like real time, I saw this gray here. I didn't notice this because Eddie and I are live right now. I would turn this microwave on and see what the microwaves are saying. I know they take a while. It's totally worth it. So there is confusion in microwaves here. I still would have, like, in my mind, been bullish, still waiting for that VWAP close. We didn't get it. We got rejection actually here, and then we pushed back down. So here we are. Where's the start? Here we go.
So we're seeing
Is this
the
what?
price wave trend actually get wider, correct? And what's occurring with the trend crossing the resistance above?
Yeah. So those are actually really good call outs there. So you could see support crosses the actual trend line. When that happens, we're in a very, very strong trend. And in addition to, not only did it cross the major trend line, the price trend actually spread out to encompass the channels, which is telling me that we have a very, very strong bullish trend. Now, Eddie, thanks for pointing that out, because if I was live trading, I actually wouldn't have caught this. What I think is going to happen after you pointed this out is we have this strong trend here. We have this price action that's saying, hey, we're going to go up. But I think it's a fake. I think it's a bull trap at this point, because what I think is going to happen is this is going to end up to be a bearish flag. And so let's see what happens. I'm not 100% sure. Again, we're just going at this. This is me taking on the bands or the waves and price action at the same time. So let's see what happens.
And I can see that undecisiveness and consolidation is back in play.
Yeah, so whenever this happens, what we should do, and that's a good point out. I mean, this is happening so fast, I can't actually see this. So we're gonna put on the microwaves, and when you're trading and these are 5-minute candles, It's not happening this fast. So at this point in time, and this is a great point, Eddie, so I could kind of see a reversal happening here. There's consolidation of this band. There's a bullish price action. There is semi-rejection before it even tries to hit this support here. And then we have bullish microwaves. So let's leave the microwaves on and see what happens, because price is moving fast. Don't drink and trade. Dude, this thing is like going down.
I mean, I will say it's impressive that the microwaves have been bearish this whole time from that downward trend. And even with these micro bullish, waves, they weren't able to overpower the downward motion of this day trade for AMD.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, these things have been on point it's impressive. It really is. They have not, and they're moving with price dynamically, and they can tell what the trend is, which is impressive.
All right, so let's just play it out until we get to the close of day of AMD, and then we'll see if we can jump into a different example.
Wow, this thing just tumbled, man.
I mean, but the advantage here is, we have the tools, and our users have the tools to figure out, we're not getting a signal to jump in, right? We're not being faked out by, market manipulations of any type, or market makers to, lose some of our profits.
Especially if you're using the microwaves. I mean, the microwaves have been, they've been on point this whole time, and here they go. They turn green, and they're finishing off the day. Very impressive by the microwaves. My price action analysis was a little off, but the microwaves themselves have been fantastic throughout this. Like you said, they just haven't changed.
All right, so let's end it there, and let's go ahead and jump into something else. All right, so we just went through that AMD example in the replay mode. Now, as we saw, that was a more bearish condition. So we've gone ahead and just quickly scanned for other positions, just to kind of highlight how to view the waves and understand the pattern that's forming. So what we have on the screen is Boeing for August 24th, and as you can see on the screen here, it has an upward trend. And Informant Joe is going to walk us through it. So go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so, what I didn't notice on the live replay, because I just wasn't paying attention to it, was that the actual resistance line fell through the overall trend line on the last stock. And then here you can actually see a indication or a situation where the support line breaks through trend. When that happens, it's a very strong indicator that it's a strong trend, essentially. And another indication of a strong trend is you can see down here, the bands are consolidated. They're very tight. So price is consolidating. But when price breaks out and it wants to go in a direction and it made its decision, you're going to see these waves actually expand. And when they take channel, like in this instance here, where they're growing to take the channel, you're going to see a massive upward trend. And then here again, the microwaves are there to let us know, hey, there is a micro trend happening. We're going to drop back down here. And that's okay, because again, support is still above the major trend line, which is this guy, and it bounces off. The actual support bounces off. So even though price doesn't, this bounces off. we can get in here if we wanted to. If that was our trading strategy, if we saw over the course of time that this worked for us, that's fine. We can hop into that trade. Then, we see price go up again, and then we see microwaves disappear. They turn green, but then we get this rejection immediately. And again, micro trend says we're going back down. And then if you're looking at price action, we move up again and then back down. And so we're in this like upward channel. So even if you got in like up here, right? Let's say we got in up here at like the completely wrong time. I don't know, what is this? 176, let's say it's 176.01, 176. Let's look at end of day, because I mean overall trend, or let's look for when overall trend reverses, because I don't know what happens here. So we're going to move over. All right, so end of day, we're at 178. So we could have held. And obviously you're going to have your own rules for getting in and out, whether it's percentage, whether it's price, or whatever else. But we literally said we were going to enter at a terrible price action point where there's a hammer showing. It hit our resistance here. There was bearish here. There's bearish here, but we're in an upward trend. And to show you how strong of an upward trend that the support and resistance defined, this is proof. I mean, when support crosses these bands, we are in an incredibly strong bullish trend, and vice versa. When this resistance crosses these bands in a bearish trend, when these bands are purple, we're going down. And I missed that last time, but this is a great example of how we're going up.
Awesome explanation there, Informant Joe. So again, informants, there's a lot of information in this video. Definitely practice with the bands. Get familiar with the different types of indicators, the different features, the support and the resistance. Use your replay function, and definitely get some practice in before you go and start live trading. Joe has a lot of experience with this, and obviously he's able to pick up certain aspects, and he has his own rules for trading and risk management. So it's best to define your rules, but use this tool, this software, this whole algorithm to help your trade. So you can figure out the best price points to get in, best times to get out. And if a trade makes sense, and if not, move on to the next ticker, because there are several hundreds of them. So with that, best of luck. We look forward to seeing you guys on the trading floor. And if you have any questions, obviously reach us out, leave comments below. But it's best to reach us in the Discord channel where we have the community all supporting one another. Anything you want to add, Joe?
Like and subscribe.
You all have a fantastic evening.